Welcome to this session presented in partnership by the Tri-County Educational Service Center, the Stark County Educational Service Center, and State Support Team Region 9. My name is Valerie Pack, and I will be your host today on the topic supporting PBIS implementation by using PBISapps implementation tools. The objectives for today's session are to identify the source and mission of PBISapps, to give attendees an overview of the PBISapps webpage, to give attendees an overview of the 3 widely used survey tools to use to assess PBIS implementation, and to highlight the importance of implementation assessment in the maintenance of an effective PBIS framework. So, starting off, what is PBISapps? PBISapps is a website or programming offered by the University of Oregon Educational and Community Supports faculty and staff, done in conjunction with the U.S. Department of Education's Office of Special Education Programs. Their mission is to implement practices resulting in positive, durable, scientifically validated changes in the lives of individuals with disabilities and their families. On this slide, you can see a snapshot of the opening page of PBISapps. As you can see, the website is being upgraded. Also, you can see many offerings available to users. If you look up here at the top in the light blue section of the page, you can see several links. There is a link for applications. These are applications such as Swiss Suite, PBIS Assessment, and PBIS Evaluation, which can also be viewed down here on the left side in the middle. The next link is Resources. This link includes offerings such as videos and webinars as tools for teams and leaders of PBIS to use in their work. The next link area, Community. You will find what's called Teach by Design, which is PBISapps' newest space on the website, which transforms complex research into straightforward solutions. In other words, it takes research and applies it to practice in schools. The next area, link, the support link, is where you can get technical assistance for navigating the website. And then About Us, that's the area which gives information about the mission and history of PBISapps. There are 3 main applications of the websites that are shown on the website that are shown right here. The Swiss Suite is a reliable, confidential, web-based information system to collect, summarize, and use student behavior data for decision-making. This is one item that has an affordable fee in order for schools to utilize the service. It's the only one that has a fee. PBIS Assessment is a web-based application designed to assist in high-fidelity, sustained implementation of school-wide positive behavior interventions and support. PBIS Evaluation is a web-based application that combines data from Swiss Suite and PBIS Assessment across all schools in a district or region for the purpose of improving practices. For the purpose of today's session, we will focus on PBIS Assessment because these tools help districts and schools consider their level of implementation of the PBIS framework, which is most applicable to the work in our region and state currently. PBIS Assessment Overview. PBIS Assessment is a web-based app designed to assist high-fidelity, sustained implementation of school-wide PBIS. A major feature of school-wide PBIS is a commitment to ongoing assessment of implementation. PBIS assessment provides surveys for teams to take and staff members to take and students and stakeholders as they examine their level of school-wide PBIS adoption, and it guides them through the process for how to improve implementation to benefit students, their families, and the overall school culture. Usually, the district will first identify a district assessment coordinator who oversees usage of the PBIS assessment application. The district chooses assessments or surveys as tools to evaluate the implementation of the framework. And in some districts, there may even be a school assessment coordinator as well. It depends on how the district wants to handle it. These surveys found in the PBIS assessment app can be used for 4 purposes. The first purpose is using the surveys as an initial assessment of discipline practices in a school to determine how school-wide PBIS should be adopted. Most schools in our region have moved beyond this purpose. Purpose 2 is to use the surveys for implementation assessment of fidelity, which within the schools that use the school-wide PBIS framework. This is the most common usage of the surveys. A third purpose for using the surveys is sustained assessment of school-wide PBIS implementation at all 3 tiers to promote ongoing use of the core principles of a 3-tiered system. And the fourth purpose for using the surveys is to assist in designing action plans to improve implementation fidelity. You can see the many surveys PBISapps offers. As you can see, the offerings even includes a tool specific to early childhood, the second bullet, early childhood benchmarks of quality. You can also see there's free access to school climate survey and a school safety survey. But today, we will focus on the most commonly used survey tools to assess a school's implementation of the PBIS framework. Specifically, we will examine the BOQ, or BOQ, which is benchmarks of quality, the SAS, or staff self-assessment survey, and the most frequently used TFI, or tiered fidelity inventory. The BOQ, or BOQ, allows school teams to examine their universal Tier 1 implementation fidelity. So it's the PBIS team that uses this tool, and they're examining Tier 1 only. So it questions, are we doing what we said we would do? It also documents whether the Tier 1 implementation has been effective, or does our implementation have a positive impact? And also the BOQ identifies strengths and weaknesses in Tier 1 implementation. So the school can answer the question, what are our strengths that we can acknowledge? And what could we do to improve? One thing to consider in this tool is that it is broken down into 53 items, which is longer than other tools, but it is extremely beneficial to teams who have been in the work for a while and need a deeper examination of their Tier 1 practices. This is a picture of the hard copy of the BOC, or Benchmarks of Quality, which again provides the opportunity to give an in-depth look at Tier 1 implementation. If you look at the left column, you will see that it is critical elements. On this slide, we are looking at 4 of those elements: the team elements, commitment elements, procedures elements, and data entry and analysis. Moving over in the middle section is the benchmark explanation with the scoring options. Notice that the score levels vary depending on the item. And also know there is a guide in the hard copy and in the electronic version of what each score level indicates. And moving to the last column on the right is where you can enter the score for the critical element area. Please pause the video to examine this slide more closely, paying particular attention to the benchmarks. The next 2 critical elements of the BOC are about expectations and rule development and recognition program elements. Please pause the video to take a closer look at these 2 areas. On this slide, you can review the areas of lesson plans and implementation plans. Again, please pause to review more closely. And this is the final slide for the BOC. The critical elements of classroom systems and evaluation are analyzed, as you can see here. As you can also see, there is a total possible score of 107 points. As is the case with most PBIS measures, a score above 70% indicates a proficient level of implementation. However, being above 80% is more ideal. Please pause to peruse this slide further. Previously, I showed you the hard copy version of the BOC, but also the more convenient electronic version is how most teams complete the tool. The electronic version would be set up by the district or building assessment coordinator that I mentioned earlier, and the link is then made available to the team for completion individually or together during a team meeting. Because it is lengthy, teams frequently complete this individually and then come together and examine the end results as a team. It calculates the results and provides the team with charts, such as I will show you in the next slide. The team can view this and determine action steps based on what they determine are areas of strength or areas of refinement. This is just one chart available. There are others depending on what the team wants to examine more closely. Next, we will examine the second tool known as the self-assessment survey. I usually refer to this by adding another S to the front and call it the staff self-assessment survey because the whole staff in the building takes the survey, not just the PBIS team, like the BOC and the TFI. Those 2 are done by the team. The SAS is done by the whole staff in a building. Many times it is a great learning opportunity for the PBIS team to do one of the team surveys and then give the staff this SAS survey, compare the results, and use both results to set a plan of action for improvement. On this slide, you can see the hard copy version of the tool. It is available electronically as well. That again would be set up by the district or building assessment coordinator, and then a link would be sent to all the staff who you want to take the survey. We will examine the hard copy so you can get a good look at the content of each item. In this survey, there are two things measured: implementation level and the person's belief as to whether it should be a priority to address in an action step. If you look at the left column, implementation is considered there. If you move over to the right column, that's where the staff can note if they believe something to be a priority. This slide shows the first section for analysis, which is analysis of school-wide systems. We know that the PBIS framework is a system. So please pause the presentation and examine the items more closely. On this slide, you can see the elements regarding specifically non-classroom locations in the building. Again, notice the left column is for current implementation status, and the right column is indicate if the staff member believes it's a high, medium, or low priority for improvement. Please pause the presentation to view more closely. This slide focuses on classroom setting systems. Please pause to peruse more closely. And this slide is about individual student systems. Again, take a moment to examine more closely. And of course, there is an electronic version for this survey. And this is what it would look like to the staff members who would receive the link to take the survey. It is quick and even has the don't know option, because not all staff will have the knowledge of or access to all elements in detail about what this covers in the PBIS system. As you know, the team has the members who are extensively trained, while other staff in the building are trained to the level so that they can effectively implement their part of the framework. And just like in other reports, you can get electronic results. Here is an example of the individual item report that a district could receive electronically if the staff completed the SAS using the electronic version. Here is a view of another type of report where the team can see the subset areas of implementation and use that information to create action plans. And last but not least, the survey used the most is a survey completed by the PBIS team. It is the tiered fidelity inventory. It is more general view than the BOQ or the BOC, but it gets at the core features of each of the 15 elements of the PBIS framework. The purpose of the school-wide PBIS tiered fidelity inventory is to give a valid, reliable, and efficient measure of the extent to which school personnel are applying the core features of school-wide PBIS. The TFI, as many of you know, is divided into 3 sections. There's a Tier 1 section, a Tier 2 section, and a Tier 3 section. The PBIS team will complete each tier as it is appropriate for their building. Many teams do the Tier 1 frequently, but may only do the Tier 2 and Tier 3 portion once a year. There are many different options that a team can use to apply the survey. It depends on their needs, and they make their decisions locally according to exactly what the building needs to find out about their implementation. Here is a picture of the TFI in the hard copy version. On the left is the feature description. Remember, I told you there are 15 features. In the middle column is possible evidence of implementation sources. On the right is the scoring description. In the scoring description, a 0 indicates that it's not yet implemented. A 1 is that it's partially implemented, and a 2 is that the team in the building is fully implementing that feature. So please pause to further peruse this slide. And here are 3 more features of the Tier 1 PBIS. We have behavioral expectations, teaching expectations, and problem behavior definitions. Please take a closer look at these 3 areas. On this slide, we're moving through features around discipline policies, professional development, and classroom procedures. Again, please pause and take a closer look. On this slide, we're viewing the features around feedback and acknowledgement, faculty involvement, and student, family, and community involvement. In other words, the stakeholders of a school. Please take some time to look at this more closely. And the final slide here on the TFI shows us the information related to features around discipline data, database decision-making, and fidelity data. Please take a moment to look at this closer. If the team chooses to set this up electronically, it is set up by, again, the district or the building assessment coordinator. Usually this survey is done together as a team, so each feature can be discussed, and then the team comes to a consensus based on evidence of implementation. And also, as in other surveys, reports can be generated by this survey as well. This is just one of the reports. The results can also be broken down further. As you can see in this example, this particular team completed the TFI for Tier 1 on September of 2020, and then they did Tier 2 during the month of October in 2020, which is completely okay to do. You do not have to complete all 3 tiers in one sitting. It can be split up. Regardless of the tool you are using to meet the needs of assessing your PBIS work, the maintenance of your implementation needs to be at the forefront of the work. As shown by this diagram provided in the evaluation blueprint for school-wide positive behavior supports that can be found on PBISapps webpage, this aligns well with our Ohio improvement process and the work we do here in Ohio. There's a constant cycle or process which should be implemented by the building teams and the PBIS district team. Evaluation is most effective when it is focused on repeated use of evidence or indicators to guide implementation. That is why the assessment tools from the PBISapps website are so very important and, of course, helpful to teams who seek to provide a positive school experience for all children. This concludes our sharing of using the PBIS website to improve your PBIS implementation. We hope you found that this session covered or helped you identify the source and mission of PBISapps. We hope it gave you an overview of the PBISapps webpage. We hope it gave you an overview of 3 widely used survey tools to assess implementation. And we hope it highlighted the importance of implementation assessment in the maintenance of and the effective implementation of the PBIS framework. We'd like to thank you for your attentiveness. And if you have any questions, please reach out to myself, Valerie Pack, SST9, Andrew Johnson, Tri-County Educational Service Center, or Dan Lowmiller, Stark County Educational Service Center. We are here to serve you.